I'm going to talk about Zuru Tech. And the video we're going to play will take us from DreamCatcher software all the way through to the automation and assembly. But unfortunately, I can't pause the video to talk directly to it, so I'm just going to explain how we're trying to revolutionize building from start to finish. So I think the videos are playing. The videos are playing. So Zuru Tech, essentially we are completely revolutionizing the way you build from start to finish. And we're optimizing everything from design, compliance, manufacturing, all the way through to assembly. And we're building the world's first factory that has a fully customized input in terms of design and a fully automated output. So effectively, we're building lot sizes of 1. And the way I explain Zuru Tech is it's 2 parts. One is the factory. The second part is DreamCatcher software. And the way I explain DreamCatcher is it's like an iceberg. The top of the iceberg is the UI, or the user interface, which is incredibly simple and intuitive and really easy to use. Basically, a 5-year-old could design anything in DreamCatcher. But below that is the rest of the iceberg, and that's the logic layer, the coding layer, and that's incredibly complex. And through DreamCatcher, you're able to design effectively any building in the world. Eventually, anyone in the world can build on it. It's a free platform, so there'll be thousands, millions of different buildings that are designed and are on DreamCatcher that you could select. You could type in 2-bedroom home, and it would come up with hundreds of 2-bedroom homes. You could look at them, go through them in real time, decide to change things on them as well. So DreamCatcher is really revolutionary. Effectively, we've embedded every single building code in the world into DreamCatcher. And so you can drop a pin anywhere in the world, and it will work out the building codes for that location. It filters in all of the terrain data, and so as you're building it, it adjusts automatically for hills or for flat land. And as you design and build, for example, if you're designing a house, as you drag and drop walls, it automatically generates the slab for you. It has a module in DreamCatcher for structural engineering, so effectively architects, the customer, engineers can all work on the same model. It simulates for daylight, so you can optimize your building throughout the year for natural sunlight, but it also calculates based on that location all the heating and cooling requirements, so how many solar panels you need, the HVAC units. It intelligently calculates all the MEP, so mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and places that throughout the house and adjusts all the structural elements as well. You create a digital twin of every single part. You can see on the videos here that effectively translating every part precisely into the factory. Here is the structural side of it. So it has a model inbuilt for seismic simulation, for earthquake simulation. It tests for live loads, dead loads, and feeds back to you what you need to change in terms of structural elements as well. You can see here there's a materials and objects library. This is actually calculating all the plumbing for the house and where it goes intelligently. It works out where all the light switches will go as well. This is the heating and cooling, so it's working out the HVACs for that particular building. So the software component of DreamCatcher is incredibly complex, but as I said, really simple to use. We've built our own AI assistant called Quera in DreamCatcher, so I wish the video was playing up here so you could see it, but effectively you can use Quera to design from 2D plans. You can decorate or furnish your house, so you can say, I want it Hampton style, this room, it will automatically do it. And we've trained Quera on thousands and thousands of buildings and architects. You can generate complete buildings by talking to Quera. So you could say, I want a 5-bedroom house, I want an outhouse, I want 3 bathrooms, a smaller lounge, a family room, and it will automatically generate that for you as well. So effectively, when you've designed your building in DreamCatcher, it then precisely gives instructions to the factory and creates digital twins for every single part. and it's looking at those parts and calculating whether they have the right structural integrity as well. So from that sort of DreamCatcher stage, we had to work out how to build the hardware. And we have about 600 hardware and software engineers working on this full time. And we built the factory to begin with, which you'll see coming up in 1/4 scale. So we're really working out how the software integrates with the hardware. And it's an incredibly complex problem to solve. So we built a 1/4 scale prototype factory. And so this builds a house in 1/4 scale in every single dimension. So it's actually a really small house, but we're really trying to debug all of the software from start to finish. There are 16 modules: the wall module, the rebar module, the lattice module, the window module, the home automation module. Every module is completely designed and built from us from the ground up. And so this is building right now a very small size house and allows us to test everything. And from there, you'll see coming up, we then built a full-scale test factory, which is about 3 hectares in size. And that's building full-size buildings. And we're building a new building or house now every 1 to 2 weeks, and then we're debugging. So we're building them all in China, and then we debug a lot of the software, a lot of the hardware, and we're continually adapting and improving. So this is a full-size prototype factory. So that AGV there is the size of a big truck. You don't really get the size of scale from it. And so with DreamCatcher, as well, as I explained before, you have a materials and objects library. So for example, this is our tile module. And the tile, we've built a technology so you can print on the tile, but you can print textures. So if I scan a piece of wood in, it prints the grain, the deboss of the grain into the tile. So you can print any texture. And using AI, we can actually generate millions of different materials, and we can print that on the ceramic tile, which goes on the outside of houses. This is our seismic simulation. So this is a 3-story building that we've built with DreamCatcher, and we're just testing it. We actually put this through, about 3 of the world's biggest earthquakes last week. So we tested in Christchurch, Chile, and a few others, all one after the other, and it passed with flying colors. So this is just on our earthquake shake table that we're testing at the moment. And so, as I said, we're like building every couple of weeks now. We're building a new house, and then we've built or bought, should I say, a 25-acre factory, just the factory alone in China, which will be the first commercial factory that we're building at the moment. We're building lots and lots of structures. This was actually the very first structure we built, and this is a more recent structure we built. And again, we're building one of these every kind of like week on average. But really, we are completely revolutionizing the cost of building a building. And so Elon Musk calls it the idiot index. We're looking at the cost of the raw materials versus the cost of the final product. And housing and building has been done the same for literally like 100 years. Nothing's really changed. And if you look at the cost of the raw materials versus the cost of the final product, there's a really big delta. And Elon said the same with rockets. The cost of the raw materials versus the cost of the final rocket, there was a huge delta. So kind of like the idiot index. So we're really trying to revolutionize the cost from start to finish. We're building for hundreds of dollars a square meter rather than thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a square meter. And we're building at the highest quality in the world. So it's aerated concrete, ceramic tile, rebar, and the level is as good or better than most buildings that you can find anywhere in the world today. So really, it's to completely completely change the cost structure of building buildings. And eventually, of course, we're going to build, it'll be like the 3rd or 2nd largest factory in the world that will be able to produce 10,000 square meters of buildings every single day. As well. You can see there, even things like the home automation system that we're building, things that we're completely innovating, like the light switches. You won't actually see them. They'll be all the same color as your walls. When you come up to them, a little loop goes around them and you control your whole house from these switches. So every part of it, we're really innovating from start to finish. So yeah, that gives you like a little bit of a synopsis for what we're doing. As I said earlier, we have the hardware side of it. We're really using, we're building out of Bantian in China. The software side, we actually acquired an architectural company in Italy, and it was 2 sons, and their parents were architects. And traditionally, architectural software has been built on really old technology stacks. And if you think about gaming 20 years ago, what a game looked like compared to what a game looks like today. And so these guys were like, why don't we build an architectural software on Unreal Engine 5? And that's what they did. And gaming engines have really come a long way over that time. So you get that incredible like visualization in the graphics as well. It's super exciting. There's still lots of things we're like debugging all of the time, but we're getting closer and closer like every week to actually commercializing this. So the first projects we're doing internally, we've actually built a lot of we've bought a lot of the land in Malibu along where all the fires. I think we've got about 12 sections there right now along the front, and we're actually building our own Zuru Tech buildings to redevelop that whole Malibu beachfront at the moment. That'll be the first projects that we do internally before we actually start opening it up to people to use long term. This is the materials and objects library you can see here. So eventually you'll be able to drag and drop any furniture. It'll be like an app store. So imagine IKEA, they could digitally scan every bit of their furniture into our DreamCatcher store. And you can drag and drop your furniture, drop it in your house as well. You can drag and drop art. Anyone can actually go on there and digitally scan in all of their furniture, art, anything into our digital library. This is the tiles, and so you can see here we're using AI to automate all these different materials, but our printing technology is incredible. We can print marble, we can print wood, we can print sandstone, anything on our ceramic tiles, so for inside and outside finishes. So this is only this video is like very short in terms of it shows just like very few of the capabilities, but it gives you a good feel for what we're building. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you so much, Nick. That's really, really impressive. I had quite a few text messages on my phone that came through during your presentation just saying how wild this is, so really incredible. Looking at this picture, this beautiful picture behind us, this house, how far away do you think it is until someone in this room can order that and get it built?
So I think like just scaling the back end like takes some time. So obviously building the factory in those 3 phases. So the quarter scale factory, full size test factory, now we're building a full commercial factory. I think even that first commercial factory, the first few years, we'll be doing just our own developments with that. And then, I mean, really, it's such a big problem to solve. Like the complexity of building a factory that has that fully customized input, fully automated output is hard to underestimate. And to do that and do it for every location in the world is really, really difficult. And so we've been working on this for obviously a long time. But I would say hopefully in the next 2 or 3 years, we think we can start working with outside customers.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm sure you'll have no shortage of those. One of the things that I think stands out is that Zuru has remained staunchly committed to China. You've got massive factories there, and one of the reasons that you've said that you are so committed is because of the talent and the intensity that's available there, the level of automation that you've been able to achieve. You've previously said you wouldn't be able to do without being in China. But what is it that this level of automation that we're seeing on the screens behind us, what is it that it's helped you to achieve in terms of Zuru across all of your business divisions?
Yeah, I always say that like Zuru, we win when we combine innovation with automation and a really data-driven approach to reaching our consumers. And I think China just has this immense scale of skill that nowhere else in the world has. Not only that, they have the deep ecosystem and supply chains, but just the sheer scale of skill. I've said it before, I think Shenzhen has more engineers that graduate every year than the whole of the US. And so there's nowhere else in the world where you have this sheer scale of skill, particularly when it comes to manufacturing and automation and this sort of deep ecosystem. And so we moved to China for manufacturing initially, but now it's incredible to watch China really innovate in so many categories and lead so many categories around the world, whether it's green tech or EVs or battery tech, I mean, fintech even now, payment tech, like China is really like leading now in a lot of these categories as well. So we've really benefited from, I guess, that evolution in China.
You talked about Elon Musk's idiot index. which I think is really interesting. Because I wonder if you have any idea what that delta might look like, or what that reduction in costs that you might be able to achieve looks like, whether you have any idea of that. And sort of related to that, I wondered, given you're constructing these houses and properties in a factory, I imagine there's less waste. So does that ultimately mean that you're producing something that's more sustainable?
Much more sustainable, using things like aerated concrete as well, are more sustainable. The whole factory we're building is going to be much more sustainable. What was the second part of your question? I missed that.
The delta.
The delta. Yeah, so the delta is wide. Like we always set ourselves the goal, and it's an impossible goal. It doesn't matter in what category we play, but how do we make something for $0? Now that's clearly impossible, but how do we make the process so efficient that we are taking the energy that goes into it and the raw cost of the materials, and how do we get our final price to be as close to those two inputs as possible? And so that's always our goal. And when you build a building, it actually has very limited amounts of materials. That's why it makes it the perfect kind of product to try and do this mass customization coupled with mass automation and mass production, because you actually have few material inputs, but you're using those materials in different ways. But the delta is very wide when you take the raw material cost out of the ground and the final cost of what it costs to build today. It's a really, really wide delta. And so that's what we're trying to solve.
Yeah. One of your, and I want to talk not just about Zuru Tech, but Zuru Toys and Zuru Edge, your consumer goods businesses. You're known for bringing products to market and very quickly dominating, right? There's toy companies that are hundreds of, or over 100 years old that you've come in and you've been able to eat their lunch. And one of your catchphrases that I know you stick to is to fire bullets before cannonballs. So could you talk us through your thinking there and how that allows Zuru to really get ahead?
Yeah, I was actually speaking, I've explained this before, but I was speaking to Jonathan Lau, who is one of the sort of founders of Alibaba, and he's my neighbour here in New Zealand when he's here. And I said, what was the secret to Alibaba's success? And he always said to me, like, the first thing he said was fast fail, fast fail. So always like firing lots of little bullets with minimal viable investments to find product market fit, and then you fire a cannonball behind those ones that work. So I say in business you should do everything really fast, apart from hiring. Hiring is the one thing you do really slowly and methodically and make sure you build the right team, because the team you build is the company you build, ultimately. But everything else, you want this mindset of speed of innovation. And we've almost been conditioned into it, because when you build a toy company, you reinvent 40% of your entire product every year. So you have to be super paranoid all the time, because you have to keep innovating and staying up with trends. So you build this muscle and this fitness for moving at speed and pace and continually innovating. And so I think what we've learned over time is the more we can take actionable insights from the world, the more we can create theses on things that we think work, and then we build like minimal viable bullets to test them. We either find product market fit or we don't, we fail and we move on. But the more innovation we can fire into the market, the more we can scale quickly. And everyone thought I was kind of crazy when I went outside of toys. We built one of the biggest toy companies in the world. And I remember like other toy companies kind of looking at us and going, what are these guys doing? But my thesis was my thesis was that in CPG, you've got 10, 11 companies that dominate 80% of consumer packaged goods globally. And through those monopolies and duopolies in every category, whether it's pet, it's Mars and Nestle, whether it's baby, it's Kimberly-Clark and Procter & Gamble, they have entrenched capital, they often don't invest in innovation, they deliver less margins to the retail partners. And I thought, imagine if we could bring our muscle and fitness for innovation and testing and learning into these other categories that are a little bit more sleepy. Could we be disruptive? And it proved that we could.
Yeah. One of the products that has really exploded in that FMCG category is the Gummy Yum product. And I wonder, we do have a video of that. I might get the team to play that one. But you're selling something like, I don't know, thousands and thousands of those into Walmart and all the...
I hope a few more than thousands.
Well, sorry.
Keep the light on.
Sorry. But could you talk a little bit, could you tell us a little bit... Could you tell us a little bit about the innovation of, and you'll see it in this video.
So this is actually building the factory for Gummy Yum. And our automation team built this from start to finish. So the only thing you see there that isn't built or designed by our team is literally those robot arms. And so the thesis was Kinder Surprise, Ferrero Rocher does about 3.5 billion Kinder eggs a year, so chocolate with toy inside. And so we had this idea. We said, imagine if we could use gummy as the input, but injection mold gummy, which has never been done before. Gummy is usually poured into flat trays. And because gummy, the input cost is a lot less than cocoa, it means we could put more into the toy experience. So we can make a far bigger product, higher perceived value than, say, a Kinder Surprise, and we could try and disrupt them. So our team actually built this really rudimentary mold, and they put some gummy in an injection molding machine, and they injected it in and realized we could injection mold gummy. So from there, we built a small test factory. This was slightly bigger than a bullet. We had to build a small test factory. We built all the automation where we could build 20,000 gummy yums a day. And then we tested it in Australia and New Zealand, and it had 6 of the top 10 in the kids' novelty confectionery category immediately. So we fired the bullet, we realized it was gonna work. And from there, then we scaled the factory. So we built this factory. It's 100,000 square meters just to build gummy yum, so it's really large. And we designed and built every part of that. So it builds the toy, it injection molds the gummy, it packs it out, it puts it on display with no people. So to do this, you really couldn't do this anywhere else in the world without the core expertise of all our automation and software engineers that were built in China. I didn't explain earlier, we also have 3 software offices in India, so in Pune, Calcutta, and Ahmedabad, where we do a lot of the back-end software side for all of our manufacturing as well. So nowhere else in the world could have we done this, especially in the time frame.
Yeah, amazing. In terms of the FMCG space, you've said that the thesis behind that is to go in. There's not a lot of traditionally there hasn't been a lot of innovation in some of those categories, and you've gone in there, you've looked through the supermarket shelves, I suppose, and you've found products that you can go in there and really disrupt. What does the process look like to identify what products you're gonna jump on next?
Do you know what? To begin with, I was just throwing darts at a dartboard, didn't really know. And I would say success is a bad teacher because we launched into baby and diapers first, and diapers has been an incredible business. I mean, this year we'll be a hair off $1 billion in revenue in diapers, and we started that, 6 years ago. And it's growing incredibly quickly. Next year, it will be 1.2, 1.3 billion in diapers. And so success was a bad teacher. I was like, oh, we can go into this FMCG business and we can disrupt really quickly. And then we had a whole bunch of failures. So eventually we kind of worked out where we could win and couldn't win. And we're going really deep and vertical in all those categories. So we've got our 5 vertical kind of approach. So whether it's beauty and personal care, which is our second biggest vertical after baby, household, confectionery, or on baby. We're going really deep, building out all the factory infrastructure, all the labs, all the back end as well. So, and then like anything, you just have this mindset of continuous improvement. We set ourselves the goal of 2% improvement a week, and improvement compounds. And we then just become obsessed about making a great product. And then we start to innovate once we see we find some product market fit, and then we start to innovate on the back of that, and then we really start to win. A great example is in our pet vertical. We have a brand called Bonkers. I think we contributed 37% of all pet treat growth in the US last year. And we took an innovation to market, it blew up with TikTok, and now we just have this incredible pipeline of innovation coming behind our Bonkers pet treat brand. Taking a lot of human confectionery trends and actually ideas from toys into pet treats. But again, it was a really stodgy industry that Mars and Nestle don't really innovate in. So once we fire a bullet and something works, we get that insight, and then we really get behind it and scale it quickly.
In terms of, you mentioned TikTok, how important is social media to your business and the brands that you own?
Yeah, digital is really important, but we've built a lot of proprietary systems, so it's not just TikTok. It's a non-negotiable for us, for our brands to be number one on TikTok and that platform. But really we've built, the world's changed, the algorithms in digital have changed from followers to now creativity. Those algorithms favor creativity, so really you have to build content engines now. So massive content engines is what is winning. And if you even look at Chinese retailers now like Popmart or Miniso, they're winning around the world with their IPs because they're building these incredible content engines and they're really dominating the content side of the piece. And so it's not just that they're building great retailers and great products, it's like the content piece that everyone misses. And so we've built a bunch of proprietary software we've got JBPs with TikTok and Snapchat. I spent a day with Evan Spiegel the other week. And Google, and we're actually now we've built software called Netra with our Indian team, and it's to manage our thousands of content creators globally, but we're actually getting piped in the trending hashtags from TikTok every week for the categories we play. We then scrape those trending sounds, those trending videos, and then we get AI to brief back into our content creators. So we're actually moving at the speed of culture with our content. And on Netra, we pay our content creators, we brief them on trends, all in this one platform. And then we've built our own creative tracker, which allows us to translate content and to track the performance across all platforms. So whether it's Snap, whether it's Meta, whether it's Google, whether it's TikTok, and manage that performance. So we're really trying to accelerate our content engine. I think the year before last, we produced 10,000 bits of content. Last year, we were at like 25,000 bits of content. This year, we're trying to double that again. And so really building content engines behind our brands. For example, in diaper, we are now equal in target in the US this year to Huggies in market share. They have 5 sub-brands, we have 1 brand, and now we're equal to them in 3.5 years. And our content engine has a big part to play in that. We're not doing it in a traditional way. So yeah, you have to keep moving at the speed of the world as well, and you can now build incredibly efficient content through creativity. And so where your CPV or your cost per view used to be sort of set in stone, now through creativity, you can make that far less expensive as well.
Yeah, amazing. I can see that there's a lot of questions coming through which I anticipated. So I'll cut to some of these. We'll see if we can get through a few of these. A question around the housing. Do you expect Zuru technology to crater the price of existing housing stock?
Potentially, eventually. I guess the cost of land will go up. But our goal is really just to solve one of the biggest problems facing the world, which is, affordability of building something that everyone needs effectively and has been done inefficiently for hundreds of years. So I'm not sure the impact that has on the market, but again, the hardest part of anything is to get the underlying system all working together. I think actually the scaling, once we nail that, will actually happen really fast. It's like anything. But yeah, ultimately, that's going to be the goal.
Yeah, cool. I can't wait to see that land in Malibu once you get that get that full of houses. Another question here: Kiwi tech startups often head to the US. Should they also explore China? What are they missing, and what should they know when forming a China strategy? It's quite a simple question for you to answer. Imagine.
Kiwi tech companies. I'm not sure. Like traditionally for us, we've always found going into the US market just easier to operate in. And obviously we operate in China, but more on the manufacturing, development, innovation side. Yes, we also sell into the China market. It's not as big for us just because the brands and products we build are more geared to the Western world. So yeah, I'm not sure if I can speak totally on the tech side, whether I would go into China or the US. Both probably have their positives and negatives, I would say.
Yeah. No, good. Perhaps that person can come and can chat to you afterwards if they want to follow up on that. But perhaps one of the things that I've noted down here is I think your factories in China span 54 acres at the moment, although that's possibly out of date already. Yeah. How do you manage quality control across that? Because that's the scale is enormous.
Yeah, we have a huge QC team, but again, it's like scale of skill in China. And when you look at China, they dominate obviously certain industries, as I said earlier. Particularly, I think China's the biggest. Its biggest sector is consumer electronics. And so wherever you have really complex production, if you have basic production like apparel, that can go to other markets like Bangladesh and Vietnam, and it's pretty simple. But when you look at things like toys and consumer electronics, there's nowhere else in the world that has the sheer ecosystem and decades and decades and decades of ecosystem development of those supply chains and scale of skill that China has. Like we can make anything in 24 hours in China because, again, you've got that depth of supply chain, but they're all super fit because to survive, they have to innovate and they have to be at the leading edge in their one little niche. And so you just have so many options to go and do things at speed. So when you have things like the toy industry where you're working in plastics, injection molding, electronics, cut and sew, spray ops, like complex testing, and you're working at such scale and speed to reinvent so much product every year, there is just literally nowhere else in the world that you can do that other than China. If you go to India, it doesn't have the infrastructure, it has problems with power, it has problems with regulation and bureaucracy across all the different states. It has problems of skill. It has problems on infrastructure and port. It's just India. You just can't go and manufacture it in the same way as you can in China. And so, for us, even with tariffs, there's just nowhere else that we can move at the speed and scale that we need to move than China.
Yeah. Earlier this year, Zuru won a couple of awards through Walmart, right?
And Target.
Oh,
2 weeks
Target.
ago, we won. I think we're the first supplier to win them both in 1 year.
Yeah, so you've not only nailed automation, but you've nailed being sort of preferred suppliers of these retailers. How have you managed to achieve that?
So we've done that on the Zuru Edge side of the business, so the CPG side, and so we were particularly proud of winning. I think Walmart has 7 Supplier of the Year awards, so 4 that align to their values, like price excellence, and then the different categories. So you have food, you have consumables, and you have hard lines, effectively, or general merchandise. And so we won the Consumables Supplier of the Year for what we're doing in FMCG, particularly in the baby, beauty, and pet segments. We also won their Price Excellence and Price Leadership Supplier of the Year, and we were a finalist in General Merchandise, one of 3. They said they couldn't give us 3 because that would have been half of their awards. And then at Target, maybe 4 weeks ago, we also won Consumables Supplier of the Year, and we're a close second on Overall Supplier of the Year. So, I think it's really just our disruptive approach. It's really refreshing, I think, for these retailers to have someone that brings our level of design and creativity. I don't know if we've played the Edge show reel up here that you can see in CPG, and you can see sort of the level of brands that we're designing and building and the innovation we're bringing. And just being super disruptive. Like, we contributed the 3rd most growth in all of CPG in the US last year, which is something we're really proud of as well, because we literally only started the consumer packaged goods business 6 years ago, and to be already contributing the most growth, or nearly the most growth against really large companies is something we're really, really proud of. And I think, honestly, we're just getting started. We're at we're just at the start and infancy here, and I'm so excited. We're looking to try and fast start 100 new CPG packaged brand ideas every year is kind of our goal. So our speed of innovation is really ramping up, and the flywheel of expertise we're getting is really ramping up as well.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I mean, you should
Thanks.
Absolutely be proud of it. It's amazing. Unsurprisingly, there's a few more questions here on Zuru Tech. Leon Fung asks, is this new building technology targeted to the mass market or the high-end market?
Mass market, because we're going to be completely disruptive on price. Like, if you're building a house today at, I don't know, like the quality at $4,000 or $5,000 a square meter, we're going to be like $500 a square meter for the same quality. So it's going to be completely disruptive from start to finish. I mean, we haven't set how we're going to price it yet. It'll probably work based on supply and demand and some kind of algorithm eventually, but it's going to be completely disruptive on price and quality. There will be nothing like it in the world that exists. And to begin with, obviously, we're building all flat roofs, but eventually you'll be able to design more and more with our technology, and we can build anything from 1 story to 100 stories as well.
Awesome. Question here from Professor Michael Whitbrock, who asks, will it be possible to make the average house net zero and grid disconnected?
Yeah, grid disconnected for sure. So we're building all our own home automation system, but obviously, even the software has all its own module for working out how many solar panels are needed, how many HVACs for cooling and heating requirements. And so we want to make the most environmentally friendly houses and buildings in the world, and that's downstream on materials. That's the factory that we're building, how we're powering that factory, all the way to the final house as well. And we're building, it's a really cool home automation system, which is completely unique as well. And on the back of that, we're actually building another business. I don't know if it's confidential, but we're building like a Xiaomi competitor, which is all the appliances, all connected through the Internet of Things. So whether that's your home security or your robo vacuum cleaner or your robot lawnmower, we're actually building all that out. We actually just acquired a Chinese company in robot mowers and it's really advanced with all its neural nets and vision that it does. So we're going downstream as well. It's a big project, but we're going pretty fast on it.
Yeah, well, we'll keep that just between us and the 380 people in the room. Yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
We've got time just for one last question, and I wanted to ask. I'm sure everybody in the room is familiar with your backstory and the fact that you went to China when you were less than 20, I think.
Yeah, I was 18.
When you first went there, didn't know the language well. I think.
Still don't.
Still don't.
I learned 2 words: kuadian, go faster, and taiman, too slow, because my brother was running the factory at the time, and it was our second product. It was this night football, And I was hustling around the world and getting these orders, but the product was so poorly designed that we couldn't produce it in the factory. And my brother was like, we just can't produce it. So I was like, well, I'm coming back to China to run our tiny little factory. And I came in and I learned those 2 words, and I worked on the production line every day with our factory team, and was trying to get them to speed up. But these balls were sort of coming off the end of the production line, and they weren't looking too flash. But I was like, we just got to ship them anyway. But those early years were, there were a lot of great stories, a lot of heartache, and a lot of learning. Yeah. I always say you are the winner you learn, and we spent the first probably 10 years doing a lot of learning.
Yeah, I imagine those 2 words are probably still 2 words that you use now, right? The two original words that you learned.
We got to go faster, yeah, and we're going too slow, yeah.
But I wonder so just to wrap up, if someone came to you today and they were going to do the same thing you were going to do, they thought there's opportunity in China, they're 18, 20, and they want to head across there and see if they can make something of themselves over there, what one piece of advice would you tell them that they need to know?
China's incredible. China, the talent, the people, the attitude, the approach, just like China is unstoppable, completely unstoppable. And I think we're like brainwashed, like Greg was saying about the Mag 7. Like, you talk about these American companies, but talk about the Chinese companies.
Yeah.
Like the way, like Apple's tried to make a car. Xiaomi comes in, I don't know if you've all seen the Xiaomi car and what they're retailing that for and just how advanced it is. Sure, it looks a little bit like a Porsche, but outside of that, it is incredible. It's $35,000. Like, China is just a weapon. Like, we couldn't do Zuru Tech anywhere else in the world. Like, not a chance, and especially for the cost of what we're doing it for without China. So I just think if you can go and build something and work with China and China talent and leverage exporting to the rest of the world. I mean, China, this whole tariff thing with the US, but China only exports now, 13% of goods to China. Their Belt and Road initiative to really stimulate trade into all these other markets around the world. China is just thinking so far ahead of every other country in everything, whether it's AI. Everyone's like, is China going to catch up on AI? Sure, the US might be leading models in AI and chips, but Huawei's going to catch up on chips real fast, and China's going to lead on energy, and energy ultimately is what's going to win the AI race. So China's leading on nuclear. I think they're putting in 26 plants. China has double the energy output of the US, and it's growing their energy output at 10% a year. And obviously compute and powering those GPUs comes down to energy and ultimately clean energy. Even the way China's looking at nuclear, it's exporting a lot of its nuclear to countries around the world. It is just playing the long game, and yes, America might lead in terms of innovation, talent, maybe its education system, its depth of capital markets. But I just think overall, China is unstoppable.
Yeah. I feel like you might overwhelm that 18-year-old that asked you that question with that response, but that's incredible. Look, thanks so much for spending some time and telling us the story. I can tell from the number of questions that have come through, it's been of massive interest to the audience. So thank you so much, Nick.
No worries. Thank you.